This is a love story. It's easy to fall in love with Italy. I've visited Italy many times over the years, going all the way back to my Navy days. It's one of the first foreign countries I've ever visited. And despite having no Italian ancestry to speak of, I feel like I have a special connection to Italy. Not just for its art, history, culture, and food, but for its ancient cities and intoxicating landscapes. So after canceling a trip in 2020, it was time to go back. So I present to you a chronicle of our journey to northern Italy in 3 acts. Act 1, Milan and the Italian Lakes region. Act 2, the ancient city of Verona. Act 3, the Dolomites and the German side of Italy. You know, my people. Along the way, we've sprinkled in cameo visits to Switzerland, Austria, and Germany for good measure. So sit back, relax, grab your favorite Prosecco or German Weissbier, and enjoy our chronicle of our trip to northern Italy in 2021. We started our journey flying directly into Verona via Munich from Charlotte. Arriving in Verona, we picked up our rental car and drove to Milan for our first evening in Italy. In Milan, we visited the Duomo and Galleria, strolled around the city, Castello Forzesco, and had dinner happy hour style in Navili, which is a very Milanese thing to do. After an evening stroll back to our Airbnb by the Duomo and one last look at its brilliance at night, we settled in for the evening. Tomorrow's a new day. Our plan for day 2 is to get up early to tour the Duomo and its rooftops, then get in the car and drive 81 kilometers up to Bolano, which will be our new home base for the Italian Lakes region, and then see where the day takes us. We're heading up to the Italian Lakes region. We're already outside of Milan, approaching Lecco, and the scenery is already starting to get amazing. There's a little bit of misty clouds up in the mountains there. Upon arrival in Bolano, we checked into our hillside Airbnb, grabbed a quick pizza lunch, and walked around Varenna while we were waiting for the rapid ferry to take us down to Como.
You could be with anyone, and I could be with anyone. You're here with me. You're here with me.
The rapid ferry is a great introduction to the size and scale of Lake Como, and it's also the quickest way to get around on the lake. The only downside being there are no weather decks to sit outside. Took about 45 minutes to get from Verona down to Como. Okay, here we are in Como. Where do you want to go? The funicular? Funicular is right there, see? First things first though, time for some gelato.
I could be alone with you. Just wanna be alone with you. I could be alone with you, with you. You could be with anyone, and I could be with anyone. You're here with me. You're here with me. You could be around, but you could be with anyone, and I could be with anyone. You're here with me.
After gelato, we did some further strolling around Como and headed over to the Como-Verona funicular. The funicular was originally built in 1894 and was powered by steam. It's gone through several refurbishments over the years and now lifts its passengers up the 500-meter vertical ascent in air-conditioned comfort. Up in Verona, we discovered the Bella Vista Boutique Hotel, which was an excellent place to sit and enjoy some drinks over the lake. We caught the Sunset Ferry back to Varenna and settled in for our first real sit-down dinner of the trip at Varenna Mon Amour. The food and service were excellent, and I definitely recommend checking it out the next time you are in Varenna. Our plan for day 2 on the lake was to have a slower, more relaxed day focusing on Bellagio, the commune of Leno, and Via di Bavignello. No fast ferries today. We grabbed the car ferry for the short trip from Verona over to Bellagio. They run about every 30 minutes and are definitely more economical than taking the rapid. Plus they have a weather deck so you can enjoy the ride outside. So today we are just walking around in Bellagio. We walked around Bellagio for a bit, peering into its overpriced shops, and then we sat down for lunch at La Lanterna. After lunch, it was back to the waterfront to wait on the slow ferry over to Leno. Next up, Villa di Bavignello. The villa is accessible by boat, but we decided to go ahead and walk. It was about 2 kilometers from the ferry terminal up to the villa, and it was quite steep, but oh, what a reward. Villa Bavignello is the most popular villa on Lake Como, and with its elaborate terrace gardens, it's easy to see why. A Franciscan monastery had existed on the tip of the peninsula since about the 13th century. The 2 towers that remain on the property are remnants of the old bell tower of the monastery's church. Today, the villa is a popular filming location as well as a wedding venue. After all, Darth Vader and Padme got married here. After touring the villa, we decided to skip the ferry and the crowds back in Bellagio, instead opting for a relaxed lakeside happy hour on the much less crowded Leno waterfront. We practically had it all to ourselves. Finally caught the ferry just as the sun was starting to kiss the mountaintops around Lake Como. Two stops on the ferry and we were back in Verona for our last dinner on the lake. We ate at La Verenda dei Pescatori, which specializes in local seafood. Everything about this restaurant was spectacular, including the food, the ambiance, and the company. It was a great way to conclude our time at Lake Como. Picture in your mind's eye the quietest place you know. Leaving the Italian Lakes region, we decided to make a quick, out-of-the-way breakfast stop in Soglio, a sunny, terraced Swiss village that dates back to the 12th century. Soglio is located in Val Bregaglia, an alpine valley of Switzerland and Italy that has the River Mera at its base. When you first enter Soglio, you will find the Church of St. Lorenzo. To this day, the church is Soglio's most acclaimed landmark. We got to Soglio kind of early, so we were struggling to try to find something to eat. We walked along the quiet cobblestone streets of Soglio for some time, marveling at the scenery and the ancient workmanship, until we finally stumbled upon the Hotel Palazzo Salis. Palazzo Salis dates back to 1630 when it was the patriarchal home of the Salis family. Its restaurant terrace with picturesque view of the Sora mountain range was the perfect spot for breakfast before continuing on our journey. Verona is the city of love. Shakespeare may have made Verona a household name when he set the most famous love story ever written in Verona, but fiction aside, the city is rich with history, culture, and architecture, going back over 2,000 years. In fact, Verona is so special in these regards that UNESCO has designated the entire city as a World Heritage Site. We returned to Verona not only to bear witness to all of its wonders, but to also attend the most famous open-air opera festival in the world that takes place every summer in its ancient arena, the Roman Amphitheater. After we got settled into our Airbnb near Castel Vecchio, we started walking through the ancient city toward Ponte Pietra, the Roman Theater, and Castle San Pietro. We first encountered Piazza Bra, which is the largest piazza in Verona. We got our first glimpse of the arena here. The Romans built this arena at the beginning of the 1st century AD, on the large space in front of the city walls. The arena is the 3rd largest Roman amphitheater in Italy, after the Colosseum in Rome and the arena at Capua. However, it's one of the best preserved, so much so that it is still in use today. From Piazza Bra, we made our way down pedestrian-only Via Mazzini. With its upscale designer shops, it's considered the commercial center of Verona and a great place to witness the evening passeggiata. We made a lunch stop at a restaurant recommended by Michelle's cousin, Greppia. The food here was excellent, but I'd recommend against anything on the menu that says Caval. Continuing our walk toward the Roman bridge, we spilled out into Piazza Erbe. In Roman times, this was Verona's forum, the center of public, social, and economic life for every Roman city. The fountain in the center has bubbled here for over 2,000 years. Today, Verona's Madonna stands proudly atop the fountain. Making our way across the bridge, we headed to the Castel San Pietro funicular for a bird's eye view of the city. We could have stayed up here for hours, just drinking in the city views. But alas, it was time to head back to our Airbnb to get ready for the opera. Every summer, the Roman amphitheater in Verona is transformed into the largest open-air opera house in the world, an homage to Verdi, Puccini, Mascagni, Bizet, Strauss, and Donizetti. I first learned of this years ago, and it quickly became a bucket list item for me. It was finally time to level up. We pre-gamed for a while in Piazza Bra, watching the passeggiata and procession of the opera-goers as they filtered into the arena. Entering the arena, there were no real queues to speak of, partially due to the reduced capacity and social distancing, but also because the arena has about 6,000 entry gates. Just watch your head in here. The ancient Romans were not tall people. We made our way to the Poltronissimo section of the arena and waited for the show to start. Ida lasted about 4 hours. Attending the opera festival in Verona was a once-in-a-lifetime experience that I will never forget. Our second day in Verona was also our last day in Italy, having returned following our epic road trip in the Dolomites coming up in Act 3. We spent the majority of the day walking the city, eating, drinking, and shopping. There was a new wonder around every corner. Piazza dei Signori is lined by buildings spanning 5 centuries, all linked by arches. Locals call it Piazza Dante, for the statue of the Italian poet Dante that dominates it. Verona isn't necessarily known for its pizza, only having been introduced there in the 1960s, but when visiting Verona, I highly recommend Pizzeria Leon d'Oro for its amazing pizza and delightful courtyard ambiance. We stopped at Porta Leone, an ancient gate built during the Roman Republic that served as the portal to Verona from the road that led to Bologna. Many of Verona's Roman ruins are 2 to 3 meters below the current road level, due to the stratification of debris, rubble, and new buildings over a period of about 2 millennia. And yes, we did manage to run across an occasional photobomber. In our travels walking around Verona, we did manage to stumble upon Juliet's balcony, quite by accident actually. So why not take advantage while the mood strikes? We stopped at Bottega Vini to sample the Amarone. Guidebooks will tell you that this place is pricey and pretentious, but I did not find that to be the case. Okay, maybe the pricey part. After some further strolling and shopping,
it's not a purse, it's European!
We ate dinner at Mascaroni, and Michelle had one last chance to have salami while still in Italy. After dinner, we had cocktails at Archivo, a cool, hip craft cocktail bar with our new friend Andre from Germany. Then finished the evening meeting Michelle's cousin Marcello, who had come all the way into the city late at night from his rugby practice. Today is day 5. We are heading up to the Dolomites now on Autostrada 22. We're going to spend a couple days in the Dolomites, and then it'll be time to head on to Munich for our overnight layover. It was about a 135-kilometer drive from Verona up to our new home base in the Dolomites, Corredo. The village of Corredo is located on a gorgeous green high plateau, about 831 meters elevation above the Non Valley. Arriving in Corredo, we settled into our Airbnb, grabbed an amazing lasagna bolognese lunch, then decided to head up to Austria. The weather wasn't looking great for the afternoon, so what better way to spend it than by ticking off another box on our visited countries list. Österreich, here we come. From Corredo, we drove through the Brenner Pass up to Innsbruck, Austria, home of the 1976 Winter Olympics. The mountains and ski slopes around Innsbruck were stunning, but the town itself was rather industrial looking, so we headed up to the village of Lons on the outskirts for a beer. Visit to Austria complete. We started day 2 in the Dolomites, driving from our home base in Corredo to Orcesi, or Urtejoy if you want to use the German name, to catch the cable car up to Seceda. You first ascend the 450-meter vertical from Orcesi to the intermediate stop at Ferns on a 2,500-meter-long cable car line, then transfer to a more traditional large gondola for the remaining 700-meter ascent to the Seceda summit. The panoramas coming off the gondola were simply spectacular. After admiring the breathtaking views and a few selfies, Michelle retreated to the restaurant while I headed for higher ground. I stayed up here for some time, getting drone footage and just enjoying the mountain air. Eventually I made my way back down and met Michelle at the Baccia Sophie Huta. The sun had come out by then, so we whiled away the rest of our time at Seceda, lounging in an alpine meadow, drinking Weiss beer and eating strudel. Not a bad way to spend an afternoon. After Seceda, we headed over to our last stop in the Dolomites, Lago de Braise, otherwise known in German as Bragda Vilsi. Located in the heart of the Dolomites at an altitude of 1,500 meters, Lago de Braise is arguably one of Italy's most beautiful lakes. We hiked over to the west side of the lake, which was far less crowded. I love how the iron in the granite creates a rusty reddish-orange vein that makes the mountain look like it's on fire. Lago de Braise was stunningly beautiful and an excellent way to wrap up our epic road trip through the Dolomites. Unfortunately, all good things must come to an end. So when booking our tickets, it was looking like we'd have a rather long layover in Munich on the way home. So we figured, why not make it a 24-hour layover and actually visit Munich instead of being stuck in the airport? Ciao Italy, allo Deutschland. We took the train from Flughafen München directly into the heart of the city, Marienplatz. Marienplatz is named for the Mariensäule, literally Mary's Column, that stands proudly in the center of the square protecting all of Bavaria. We were quite hungry by the time we got into the heart of Munich, so we got settled into our Airbnb, then headed to the Spatenhaus restaurant, directly across from the opera. Italy may be best known for its cuisine, but don't miss the food in Bavaria. It's simply delicious. After dinner, we strolled around the city, admiring the architecture and just drinking it all in until it was time to retire to our Airbnb in advance of our flight home in the morning. We will be back. Well, that'll do it for our trip to northern Italy, Verona, and all the cameos in between. I hope you enjoyed this chronicle of our journey, and we'll see you in the next one. Until then, remember, travel is always a good idea, and peace out.